Hi guys, welcome back to my channel The Fulfilment. I am Asik Iqbal. Today I am focusing on the summary of the great epic, the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is the longest epic in the world literature. It is 4 times the size of Valmiki's The Ramayana, 8 times that of Homer's The Iliad and Odyssey, and 3.5 times of the entire Bible. Vyasa is credited to be the composer and compiler of the epic, while the actual authorship of the epic is something that is next to impossible to determine. He, however, might have been the compiler of the same. The Mahabharata means the great stories of the Bharata, who was the ancestor of both Pandava and Kauravas. It was compiled between 300 BC and 300 AD. It consists of 1 lakh 2-line stanzas. According to Narasimha version, only about 400 lines relate to the main story. The rest contain additional myths and teachings. In other words, the 18 Parvas in the Mahabharata resemble a long journey with many side roads and detours. So let's go through the Parvas. Adi Parva, the book of the beginning. It is the first among the 18 books in the Mahabharata. The term Adi means first in Sanskrit. This book is further divided into 19 books and 236 chapters. This book narrates the story of how Ugrasrava Shati recounts the events of the epic to the rishis assembled in the Naimisha forest. He charts out the contents of the subsequent 18 books as well as the significance of this tale. It begins with the history of the Bharata's rule and continues to cover the birth of the princess of the Kuru clan. Shobha Parva, the book of the assembly hall. This book contains 10 sub-books and a total of 81 chapters. It begins with a detailed description of the palace and the Shobha or assembly hall built by Maya in Indraprastha. Arjuna saved Mayasura in the forest fire of Khandava. In order to repay the Pandavas for their kindness, Maya built a palace for Yudhishthira at Krishna's behest. The book further outlines the various principles necessary to righteous governance and administration that would lead to happy and prosperous citizens. It also narrates the happenings of court life, the Rashwa performed by Yudhishthira that leads to the expansion of the Pandavas' empire. Jealous of the prosperity of the Pandava brothers as well as insulted by Bhima, Arjuna, Krishna, Draupadi and the rest of them, Duryodhana invites the Pandavas to a game of dice. Duryodhana and the masterful Shakuni played the game deceitfully, and Yudhishthira lost all his property, his brothers, and himself at last. Then he staked Draupadi despite everybody's disapproval. Draupadi was dragged to the court and disrobed forcibly. The enraged Pandavas took an oath to avenge this insult and were freed at Draupadi's bidding when Dhritarashtra gave her 3 boons. Yudhishthira and the brothers went to Indraprastha along with Draupadi but returned once again for a gambling match. Yudhishthira lost everything, leading to the eventual exile of the Pandavas. The third book, Bhana Parva or Aranya Parva or the Book of the Forest. It is the third book. The book consists of 21 sub-books and 324 chapters in total. This book chronicles the life and journey of the Pandavas for 12 years in the forest, where they learn valuable life lessons. It holds various essential discourses on morals, ethics, and virtues. It also details the myths of Nala and Damayanti, as well as the famous Savitri and Satyavan. Virata Parva, the Book of Virata. It is the fourth book. The book has 5 Upaparvas and 722 chapters. We are told about the incognito stay of the Pandavas in exile at Janmejaya's inquiry. It further discusses the 13th year of their exile when they had to stay hidden lest they will be forced to endure another 12 years of exile in the forest. They successfully complete their years of exile, having assumed various identities in the kingdom of Virata and return to avenge their torments. Uddaga Parva, the Book of Effort. It is the 5th of the 18 books of the Ramayana. This book contains 10 sub-books and 199 chapters. According to the terms of their exile, the Pandavas return and demand their half of the kingdom, but the Kauravas refuse. The book is primarily called the Book of Effort because of the numerous attempts made to ensure peace, but to no avail. It consequently leads to the two sides preparing for the great war of Mahabharata, the Crook Were. Bhishma Parva, the Book of Bhishma. This is the 6th book out of the 18 books of the Mahabharata. It has 4 sub-books and 122 chapters. The story details the first 10 days of the Great War as well as its consequences for both the Pandavas and the Kauravas. It also recounts the fatal battle between Arjuna and Bhishma that leads to the eventual death of Bhishma after an excruciating physical agony rendered for 58 days. This book also includes Krishna's lectures in the form of widely famous Bhagavad Gita. It educates Arjuna on the purpose of the violence and war as well as the way to live life. Drona Parva, the Book of Drona. It is the seventh book of the Mahabharata. It includes 8 sub-books and 204 chapters. After the death of Kaurava, commander-in-chief Bhishma, Duryodhana appoints Dronacharya in his place. He fought for the Kaurava cause for 4 days after his appointment until his ultimate demise on the 15th day of the war. The book further recounts the brutality of war and the deaths of the warriors one after the other. It also includes some major deaths like the death of Arjuna's son Abhimanyu as well as Ghatotkacha. Karno Parvo, the Book of Carno. This is the 8th book in the epic and is subdivided into 96 chapters. After Drona is deceased, Karno is appointed as the new commander-in-chief. With each passing day, the war begins to erode human values from within its participants and leads to the eventual deaths of Dushasana and the mighty Karno, who is killed in a fierce battle with Arjuna. Despite being a skilled warrior, Karno had to embrace death and his predetermined destiny. Additionally, this parvo also includes a treatise by Ashwatthama who explores the meaning behind human life. Shalya Parvo, the Book of Shalya. This 9th book is divided into 4 sub-books and has 65 chapters. On the 18th and last day of Crook Were, Shalya is appointed as the 4th commander-in-chief of the Crook army. Duryodhana's death by the hands of Bhima, who smashes him on the thighs, fulfills his oath in the court of Dhritarashtra when Draupadi was insulted and he pledges his vengeance on Duryodhana. It describes the gory consequences of the war after the 18th days when the Pandavas alongside Krishna emerge victorious. They lament the loss of human lives as well as the lives of their elders in the war. Shaktika Parvo, the Book of the Sleeping Warriors. It is the 10th book of the Mahabharata. It only has 2 sub-books and 18 chapters in total. It describes the night at the end of the 18 days war and also recounts the revenge of the few Kauravas still alive, namely Ashwatthama, Kripa, Kritovarman. To avenge the death of his father, Ashwatthama enters the camp of the sleeping Pandavas at night, except for the Pandu brothers, Krishna, Satyaki, Draupadi and several others. All die by the weapons unleashed by Ashwatthama. But he pays for his actions and Bhima presents Draupadi with the jewel from Ashwatthama's crown as evidence of justice having been delivered for the night massacre of the Pandava army. Stri Parvo, the Book of Women. This is the 11th book of the Mahabharata, which contains 4 sub-books and 27 chapters. It recites the pain and sufferings of the women who lost their fathers, husbands, and sons at the end of the war. Their uncontrollable grief introduces an element of pathos and it is recited alongside the lamentations of Dhritarashtra. The book includes a treatise by Vidura and Vyasa, the words of comfort for those who have lost their loved ones, as well as the fable of Samsara. Shanti Parvo, the Book of Peace. This book constitutes the 12th book of the Mahabharata. It has 3 sub-books and 365 chapters. It elaborates the post-war circumstances and depicts Yudhishthira's anointment as the king. Dharmaraja receives lessons on good governance from Bhishma, lying on the bed of arrows. The duties of a ruler, dharma, and the ways to ensure peace in the kingdom are some of the lessons he receives. The book also narrates several fables like Vishwamitra stealing meat, the fowler, and the pigeon, etc. The Shanti Parva has a lot of significance because of its treatise on jurisprudence, success, and superiority of truth. Anushasana Parva, the book of instruction. It is the 13th book in the Mahabharata. It has 2 sub-books and 154 chapters. This book discusses the rule of law and dharma. It also focuses the duties and appropriate behavior for both men and women. The Parva also chronicles the death of Bhishma and his final rites performed by the Pandavas. Ashwamedhika Parva, the book of the horse sacrifice. Ashwamedhika Parva is the 14th book of the epic. It contains 2 subplots and 96 chapters. The new ruler of the kingdom, Yudhishthira, performs the Ashwamedha Yajna upon the suggestion of Vyasa and Krishna. The war depleted the kingdom of its resources and the treasury is found to be empty. Krishna suggests mining the gold in Himavat, following which the illustrious Yajna is performed. This book is also significant because it includes the mini Bhagavad Gita called Anugita Parva that Krishna recites to Arjuna because he seeks to listen to its wisdom once again. Asrambhashika Parva, the Book of Hermitage. It is the 15th book. Ashramadhika Parva has 3 sub-books and 39 chapters. It narrates the 15 years of prosperous rule of Yudhishthira after the Kurukshetra war. It also describes the next 2 years when Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and Kunti live in Vaisa's hermitage as sannyasis. Mausala Parva, the book of the clubs. It is the 16th book. This book has 9 chapters in total. It narrates the demise of Krishna after 36 years of the Great War, as well as the submersion of his kingdom of Dwarka under the sea. The civil war of Jadavas kills many and is the reason the Pandavas renounce their kingdom and decide to begin their last journey towards heaven. Mahaprasthanika Parva, the book of the great journey. It is the shortest book and has only 3 chapters. This book details the journey of the Pandavas throughout India and their eventual ascent towards the Himalayas. Yudhishthira befriends a dog in this journey who walks alongside them all the way towards heaven. Draupadi is the first one to die, followed by the rest of the Pandavas. Only Yudhishthira and the dog make it to Mount Sumeru. Sargo Arohana Parva, the book of the ascent to heaven. This is the last book in the epic, the Mahabharata, and it has 6 chapters. It marks the arrival of Yudhishthira on Indra's chariot into heaven. He also visits hell, and the book describes his experience in both the places. This is the summary of the great epic, the Mahabharata. My dear viewers, if you enjoy the video, please like it, share it, and those who have come for the first time in my channel, please subscribe the channel, The Fulfilment. All the best for you.